you for...
Yeah, you're good.
There we go.
There it goes.
All right, so this is our second post-observation meeting with Mrs. Brittany Dyzik. And I was honored to be let into the class while she taught a word problem, right? Math session. So solving word problems, which was pretty tough, I think, for the kids. Do you want to just give a brief summary of how you think things went, Mrs. Dyzik?
Well, you came during my group that is probably challenging, like they're struggling the most academically with math. And so we have to really break things apart into baby steps. Plus, there's a lot of kiddos in that group that are just very distracted all the time. So keeping them on pace and going can be a little challenging, especially with them at home. But I felt like it went pretty good considering the group and considering that we were only on day 3 of that particular lesson of like breaking word problems apart.
So, you know, I thought there were a lot of things went really well. You know, again, you have such a great energy and demeanor about you. You have the patience of Job. And especially for some of your students, one of them really was out of sorts towards the end there. He got so frustrated and ran off, and you didn't miss a step. You know, you were firm but loving with him and invited him back into the fold, and so I really commend you for that. And you really seem to enjoy what you're doing too, and that's important. Yes.
Yes, I love teaching.
Just some things to think about to kind of bookend, I guess you could say, your lesson. Wouldn't it be cool to try, and I'd love to know what you think about this, to have some sort of opening game or a focus activity? Because people pop in, you know, most of the students are there on time, but if students come in late, what have you, just to focus and bring it all in together, right? And that could be something you could do with your document camera, or just something you do. It could be a song. It could be, I don't know, how you could maybe involve like a reward system into it too. So a points type thing, and that can be at the very end as well. Oh, looks like, you know, these 7 students got the problems correct. You know, they showed me their work, and then you have a place to mark, you know, points on a board or what have you. So that was just my thought, to kind of start everyone off on the same foot at the beginning. What do you think?
I think the only challenge with that is that I only get 25 minutes with each group. So I have the class split into 2 groups for math, and I have like less than an hour to teach both groups. And like that group in particular, to get them refocused sometimes. So if like we start with something else and then trying to transition, and if somebody pops in late, especially a couple in particular in that group, might be like freaking out because they didn't get to do whatever activity we just finished. That would be my only hesitation with that, is that I've been trying to think of creative ways. Like this week I had them all, if you guys want to, write a word problem and bring it to math class, and that's what we'll solve. So that helped kind of get us going. And I was like, you can bring it, but you have to be on time to share it. Like, I'm not going to let you show up whatever late. But part of that's just communicating with parents too, and reminding them that it's school and we still need to show up on time.
Gotcha. How about this? How about, so basic math, adding and subtracting. You did this, you had the students do this for addition, and then this for subtraction. Checking for understanding, you know, basic concepts before you jump into something new, or, you know, when you use those concepts in a different way, kind of higher thinking deal. Could you maybe have written out some really basic really basic math, you know, addition and subtraction problems?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, that's setting the mood, and it's checking to make sure that they've got a stepping stone in place. Because there was some times where students, just had a tough time, with basic adding or subtracting or whatnot.
Yeah.
That was, and I try to do that in my music classes too, having just something to bring us all together. It could be reviewing procedures too at the very beginning. For me, I'm a PAX head, and I know some teachers just roll their eyes, but harmonica and, show me peace and quiet looking, and I mean, just something really, it doesn't have to be long, because I totally get that you are really, under time crunch. I mean, I'm amazed. You got through what, 3 word problems in 15 minutes? That was,
Like, I don't remember.
I think it was 3. Like, holy mackerel, that's a ton. All right, so comments. I think I've got one more thing.
No, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, okay. So for me, one of the things that I love to do is, I know that students, they don't all learn the same way, right? So some are visual, some are auditory, some have to say it, some are kinesthetic. And maybe this is just the young student in me, the young boy. I wanted to see manipulatives. I wanted to see like stuff happening when you were adding into something or taking away. Could you not use some sort of something to do with, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean,
so here's the thing. Second grade standard is that they're using mental math strategies. So we spent the first 3-4 weeks just working on what are those mental math strategies that you learned in first grade. Count on, count back. Like, so not drawing a picture, not, if they have to draw a picture, great, but like not using counters, not, so it's kind of taking away those like physical things because it's wanting them to start mentally. And that's the second grade standard. And so trying to like get them used to working towards that. But like this week we started moving into 2 step word problems. And so like I would like draw out a picture, and like in class we would usually act out the word problems, which is really hard to do and kind of time consuming on Google Meet. And so it's like that, it's just been a challenge, the way I would normally teach math and then the way I have to teach it because I can't physically do a lot of things. It's trying to get creative.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and there are constraints to what you can do.
yeah.
When you're teaching via the internet. Okay.
And we'll get out, like, I mean, if they're like still struggling with like breaking it apart, I'll pull the whiteboard out and like draw it out to show them kind of what's happening,
Sure.
or grab my little box of beans over here because I sent them all home with little beans for counters.
Okay.
I told them if you need to use them, but like we're really trying to work towards mental math strategies.
Gotcha.
You just also happen to come during the group that struggles the most with all of those things. And surprisingly, they actually can do a lot of those things, but it's taking them and like applying them to the next thing that we're really still working through. Like, remember when oh yeah, now we get to use it here. Oh yeah. Like,
oh, for sure. Okay, well, if I was an administrator or knew what the standards were in math for your grade level, I would have known.
not all administrators have all the standards memorized either. You're good.
I wouldn't hesitate though, reaching back in time and pulling out stuff that works for kids. Especially there were a couple of times I felt like the lesson kind of got bogged down and got stuck.
Yeah.
Right. But I do love how students will ask you point blank, Mr. Isaac, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Some run out of the room crying. Others will raise their hands and just say, I'm lost. And you asked that too. So how many of you are lost? How many of you don't get it? I have 2 pages of the types of questions. I actually wrote them out verbatim that you asked in your 15-minute lesson. 2 pages, and they were just fantastic. I won't go into all of them, but I really loved your 3, 2, 1 countdown. That was great, and you gave lots of positives too. Zachary and Aria, you go Zachary, go Aria, when they were being successful. You're a real cheerleader, and that's why the kids love you, I think.
I'm like my little crier one too. Like we just struggle with that a lot in general.
Yeah.
I mean, you know who it is, so.
I do. Bless his heart. All
Mom's
right.
always like, "How do you get him back?" I hear him freak out, and then I get ready to come out there, and then all of a sudden I look, and he's back at the computer, and I'm like, "I just tell him he needs to come back." Like.
Yeah. Well, and I think that comes from your nurturing spirit. Excuse me. You're just you don't get on kids. You're patient, and they really need that, especially those that really need to be at school and they're stuck in their kitchen or whatever.
I think some of them forget too, like especially with math, like they expect it to just be easy. Like, for a lot of kids, I feel like they expect certain things to just be easy, and so like when it's just challenging enough that they're really having to stretch, it's hard, especially when they're not in this learning environment and they like essentially feel by themselves. Even though I'm like, I'm right here, like I know it's not the same, but ask me for help. That's what I'm here for. And like it has taken us, well, since we started distance learning, for them to actually start to ask me for help. And it's taken me a lot of parent conversations of like, stop coming in for the rescue. Like they need to ask me for help. Otherwise, I don't know that they're struggling, and then I'm going to keep going. And if I can't tell that they're struggling because they're just sitting there working away, but you're sitting there feeding information in their head, like it's too much. And so
you had to tell or ask parents to not rescue.
Oh yeah, several. There was a lot of them that tried to sit like right there, and I'm like, please, like I don't care if you're listening, that's fine, like by all means, but like give them their space. When you drop them off at school, you trust me to teach them and do my job. And if you're in their room, like they're going to start getting used to having you right there all the time, or having an adult accessible all the time. And then when we do return to the room, it's going to really flip some kids' lids, because I can't be at 26 different desks or even half of that all at the same time. Like,
for sure.
And so they have to start kind of get it, even though, but we're on a Google Meet. So it's like, raise your hand and I can help you.
Yeah.
Plus I give office hours. So I open up time where if a kiddo is still struggling, like they know they can come back on later in the day. And on certain days or certain times on certain days, they can pop back on and say, Mrs. Isaac, I'm working on this and I don't understand. And so then we sit and we work through it together, which
Awesome.
that's been nice.
Well, we'll end our little meeting here with I'd like to just say, once this long distance learning thing is over, I'd love to stop by and actually come into your classroom and see you teach. I think that would be just the way that you are during music class. I imagine you're great in your classroom too. Okay, so thank you, Brittany, for allowing me to observe you.
No problem.